Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So my last upload was when I was down in my last few hours in the States. I recorded that, and then I went to the gate. I was in the Atlanta airport, and I caught my flight out of the U.S. And after two long flights with a connection in a European city, I'm now back in the city in which I live. I've just now caught a ride from the airport going home. It's been a long way home and a lot to think about. And it gave me a lot of time to figure a lot of things out. I think that the TAP's two data breaches are indicative of men beginning to realize that this is not just a conflict. It is not just ladies looking out for the interest that is going on in the West. It is a goddamn gender war. And I think that whoever the hell did these breaches were fighting back. It's illegal, but also the security wasn't there. However, this is one of those things that's illegal but not immoral. I don't have a moral problem with somebody going in and breaching the data after men had already said that we know y'all are up here lying. And after men had gotten on there and said, listen, you're not slick. We know who you are because this lady that said she worked with me at one place and I gave off 9AY vibes is easy for me to identify because I only worked with ladies in one place and they were letting everybody hit that. And so, in a nutshell, when men came out and said, okay, look, this proves that you're just out here smashing the same few guys. Because all these dateless men are in the real world, but then online we can see these men and have a bunch of bad reports on them. It just tells us that y'all are up here lying, and then you're picking the same guys. And then all of a sudden these data breaches come along. I do not like the fact that there was a lot of collateral damage. I don't like the fact that there were a lot of ladies that signed in and probably didn't say anything to anybody. They were just looking. That part is the only thing that bothers me, but this is a war. I don't like that collateral damage, but I can't sit up and point the finger at whoever did the actual breach and say, well, that was immoral. No, it was war. I don't like it. I don't like that there is a gender war. You men listening, the straight men, and even those of you that don't even like women like that, they're not interested in a gender war, having to fight women, but there is one. So you guys have to, you have to kind of prepare yourselves for more of these things to happen, as much as we don't want that. And then a secondary breach came about, and that one was even more, morally speaking, righteous. I'm not saying it was legal, but morally speaking, that was more righteous, because that was where they leaked the messages. They actually leaked content that ladies uploaded, what they said. Not just IDs. An ID could have been, you can see an ID, and that could have belonged to an inactive user. Stupid thing to join, but they didn't actually participate in destroying anybody's reputation. But then they started leaking out messages. That's active content. That goes to destroy someone's reputation. And if they told the truth about somebody being a no good dirty dog, okay, well then that part wasn't even immoral, but we already know where the immorality lies in that, or that is related to that. And so therefore, these guys realized that it's a war, and they fought back. It wasn't just tit for tat. No, these guys had to have known that this is actually a gender war, even if they were thinking about it in a different way, in a different term. Because remember, gentlemen, you are not shut out of dating and reproduction and raising your own family, your own kids only because something's wrong with you. You're shut out because you're normal. You're shut out because of regular human limitations and imperfections and flaws, not because of an actual problem. It's not because of something that's actually evil about you, or not even because you're crippled. It's not even because you're in pitiful physical shape, but because you're in normal physical shape, you're shut out. And you were completely told that you deserve to be cuckolded and nothing else, just cuckolded all day long, all decade long, multiple decades. That's what you've been told all this time. You've been shown it if you have not been told it. And I want to give a shout out to Joey Staley, who commented on the pink wall of silence again. And Joey talked about the pink wall of silence being exemplified in the Forrest Gump movie. Because in the movie, Forrest Gump's mom didn't take nothing. You couldn't pull any wool over her eyes. She could see through people. But she never explained to him the games that women would play. And then Jenny comes along and does all of this. Does everything. Friend zones him, lets a whole bunch of other guys dig her out, and then brings her baby to him to raise. You know that ain't his baby. She just put that baby off on him because she was dying of a disease for which there was no cure, especially at that time. That's all that happened. There was nothing else to it but that. Just that. And, you know, we look back then and we just say, well, it's just a movie. How do we know this? The script writers didn't say that. Yeah, we know that in real life, someone like Forrest Gump was going to be cuckolded. That movie was ahead of its time, actually. But that did illustrate also the pink wall of silence. And Joey Staley put together that term very well, referring to specifically when ladies will even so much as shortchange their sons and nephews and grandsons and younger brothers by withholding information that these guys need to defend themselves and not get played. Pink wall of silence results in things like you and I being raised and taught how we're supposed to treat women, while they're raised and taught how they're supposed to take advantage of us. That's the gender war for you, gentlemen. And the sad thing is that the gender war is, as I stated in the last one, it goes from place to place. The only thing constant is its spread. It spreads and it spreads. Now, that is one thing about it, that the fact that it exists and the fact that it spreads, that's constant. The only constant change of the gender war is that it spreads from one place to another. And the spread doesn't stop. It just keeps on going. No end in sight. There's really no other constant to this gender war except for that. It goes on and on and on, and it continues and goes on and continues some more from one place to the next. And now you even have people coming out of a conservative culture. But because the law is written that it is the husband that pays alimony, not the breadwinner, but the husband. The women now are starting to tell each other to let white dudes dog them out and then go back to their own men and settle down because their own men don't have those options. That's what they're saying. So these ladies are pretty much showing that the same loyalty they demand is the loyalty they never give. That's what they're all showing. And the sisters ain't been no different, even when we thought they were. And even when a lot of sisters thought they were, that was the only thing that made a lot of them actually be any different. It was because they thought they were supposed to. But then as many of them got older, they learned, look, it's a game. You don't really need to be doing that. You just need to tell them this. And now we know. And this is how it is that Omar Ifa Tunde, Oga Tunde, Mr. King Kong Consciousness wound up in a position in which he wound up with some lady that came forward and was like, yeah, we was messing around. He was helping me mentor my little problem child. And see, what better deal was there for Omar? Now, I'll sit up and tell you, I don't follow him. And I do not. And he left Islam as an adult. He was Muslim, and as an adult, knowing better, he left. He knew the score. He just left anyway because he didn't want to wake up for Fajr, and he wanted to drink, and he probably wanted to fornicate, and all the stuff that he's already left off, all the self-discipline he's already exercised in his life, because we all have. He thought he couldn't do it, thought it was too much to ask. But when it comes down to the choices that he has, I'm going to sit up and tell you that that is the fault of sisters in general, because they have decided to take guys like him and limit those men to the worst choices. And then to make matters worse, I want to tell you that it is his fault because he remained loyal to them when they've done this. It is a rigged game, and we're still bragging, too many of us, I should say, are still bragging about having game. In the context of a rigged game, that is really stupid. Same sisters that are telling us that we can't have no kind of European beauty standards, and then say that if you like anything other than the stereotypical West African looking sister, that you have a European beauty standard. There ain't nothing in between. No, you don't have a Native American beauty standard. You don't have a Southeast Asian. No, you got a European beauty standard. They're going to tell you that, trying to make it that cut and dry. And the whole time, they got a European materialism standard. The whole time, that's what they're looking at. And so, that's hypocrisy if I've ever seen it. They can have a European materialism standard, but you can't have a neutral beauty standard. That's a rigged game if I ever saw one. And here we were trained to just go ahead and go along with it. And if you remain loyal to these broads that are involved in this, then, well, you wind up in Omar's situation. Because why is it that there was no one better than the one he called Medea? Why is it nobody better than that for him? And he Dr. Umar Ifatunde Johnson. You already know what the answer is. There's no one better for him because he's preaching something that at least sounds positive, even if he really ain't about it, or he's just not effective in it. Whichever one the case is, he's not out here on the street just hustling and being a stereotypical knuckle dragging N-word. And that right there disqualifies him from his own reproduction. And if he does reproduce, he doesn't get to keep them and raise them. To the point that one of his daughters has crashed out on social media and told everybody she don't even like men. He Muslim, but she grew up not even liking men. And he was perfectly okay with her getting together with her sister on the condition she wasn't going to brainwash her with the feminism. And that's exactly what the hell she wanted to do. Yeah. So, it's a war. And that war is why it is that better options amongst sisters ain't available for Omar. That part ain't his fault. What's his fault is that he remained loyal and didn't treat this like a conspiracy as he should have, because that's what the hell it is. I had to tell my own mom about this. We were about to have another uncomfortable conversation. More uncomfortable than before. Because my mom straight said to me, regarding my own daughters, well, how were they supposed to know who to pick if they don't date and experience? I looked at my mom and told her, you know the answer to that. How your granddaughter's supposed to pick, they don't have to. They can, but I still got to vet, or I could pick and then they vet. But for them, someone's got to pick and vet. Now, if I vetted my son's choice, even though I wasn't required to, then why the hell would I not do that for my daughters when that's a requirement? Either I pick and they vet, or they pick and I vet. In other words, both of us got to prove it to do for the daughter. If I'm required to do that, why would I not do that for them? If I did it as a bonus for my son. And so far, I'm happy with my daughter-in-law. And he's happy with his wife. But I had to say to my mom, you know what the answer is? The other thing I had to tell her mom is, Mom, look, I'm pretty sure if you would not have picked Dad if he was really inexperienced. I get that. You wound up being lucky with a good husband. You really did. But understand this too. He is more patient than many men would be. But by the same token, the fact that you wouldn't pick a man that's inexperienced is unique to women. Men don't walk around saying, oh, I don't want someone inexperienced for the most part. Maybe not inexperienced with other parts of life. But we don't go looking for men that have gone out and dated a bunch of others and gotten all this experience. We don't go around looking for that because we're the ones who might be able to make a comparison and say, no, she won out. Ladies don't do that. When they get out there and experience, it's the dude that broke their heart that they never get over. It's not the ones whose heart they broke they never get over. They could care less. They'll break the same dude's heart 5 times if he allows it. They look at him like he dumb because I can break his heart. The only one they respect is the one who broke their heart. They figure, oh, well, he's smart. He knows us. We're not the same, huh? We make better choices if they're available. I would have made a better choice in my first marriage if it had been available, but everyone else was even worse. And that's a conspiracy. I had to say this to my mom. It wasn't something I wanted to tell her, and I wasn't being mean to her when I told her, but I had to let her know. Look, Mom, there were things you wanted me to know growing up. Well, guess what? Now I know them. And that means that your daughters are going to have to make a choice when they are young. If they want to go the family route, they're going to have to choose it when they're young. There will come a time when they get past the age where they cannot go back and reverse their decision, because no man will let them, at least no man they'll want. And I had to tell her, I'm not even doing this just to be hard on them. And no, I'm not going to let them just date and have boyfriends if they don't get married. If they got needs, and I'm sure they do, or they will, then they take care of those needs in the context of a marriage. Their brother did. Limited that to a marriage. Why the hell am I going to sit up and give them a license to just be SLUTs when I wasn't going to give my son license to just be a womanizer? Even though the harm to them would be greater than it would have been to him being a womanizer. I didn't let him go that route because of the danger. And I had to tell my mom, I want the cycle that you and Dad have set, the good of that cycle, to continue. That's what I want. And in order for me to pass that to your grandkids, I got to make these decisions that I made. Especially knowing what we know now, because I'm not the only one that knows these things about women, Mom. I ain't the only one. It's not just me that knows it. A lot of men know it. And she said, well, where are they learning this from? And I told her that I was part of the process of them learning. I'm not at all the process. I'm not the only one, but I let her know, if you're going to blame someone for this, then you're going to blame me. Because I'm one of those that shares whatever the hell I learn. But she, in the end, after I explained it to her, the good news is that she said, well, if you're teaching them how to not be taken advantage of, then that's fine, because you're not going to teach them to go and take advantage and oppress these women either. And I was like, you're right, I'm not going to teach them that. I'm not really sure that I could teach them that. But I'm not going to. That part is true. And so in the end, it worked out. And that could happen in many of your cases too. But I want you guys to understand, how many more men are beginning to understand that it is a gender war, even if they don't hear me say it and they don't think of it in those words. More and more men are understanding that it is in fact a gender war. It's not just a gender conflict. The T-App's purpose in the end, sisters said that it wasn't even popular till they joined it. Well, the ones who started the app didn't even want it to be popular, because even the ones that began that ain't sisters were looking for women to be able to just, for the most part, warn each other about dangerous dudes. But we already know the sistren jumped in and their white friends and wanted to make it about excluding all except the tallest men and the most athletic men. We know that that's what happened. That's who they are, and that's how they are, and that's what they are. They always take legitimate concerns on the surface and then exaggerate them. That's what happened with me too. White and black women like their dad together. But white women couldn't have done it. They couldn't have made it as popular as they made it without sisters' help. And sisters were glad to do it. Yeah, girl, that's right, me too. Neck roll, eye roll, finger snap in a circle, all that together. And that's what happened with this T-App. And that's because they're at war, and oftentimes the war involves the white bitch arguing with her husband, with whom she's not going to go to war to the same extent, but then firing up the sister who's willing to go to war with the men. And then before you know it, you got what you got here. War ain't over. Keep fighting to win. It doesn't mean we go out and hurt those that didn't do anything, but you keep fighting to win. Hacking's illegal. But do not be willing to sit up and condemn whoever it is that breached that data just to appease some lady at the job or some lady, even the ones in your family. Just be like, nope, it's an act of war. It's illegal, yeah, but there ain't nothing immoral about it. It's a war. That's the stance you tell them. And you tell them that you'll condemn it as immoral when the context changes and the genders are no longer at war. And we know damn well it ain't the men really fighting. Men are only fighting back, and that's only sometimes. I hope this helps. Thank you for listening. As always, Black Heart, Black Mind, Black Out, Assalamu Alaikum. Black heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it, and Black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you for flying with us here again on Jet Black Air, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep Jet Black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.